This is Balance of Power on Bloomberg Television and Radio. I'm David Weston. U.S. jobless claims surprisingly moved up last week to just under 900,000, while continuing claims fell more than expected. Douglas Holtz-Eakin, president of the American Action Forum, earlier served as the director of the Congressional Budget Office, and we welcome him back to Bloomberg now. So what do you make of the jobless numbers? Is there anything we should make of them, Doug?
I guess you shouldn't overinterpret any single number. As you know, weekly data can be quite noisy. But, as this has progressed, I have steadily placed less and less weight on initial claims and more weight on the continuing claims. Because we've changed who can apply for benefits so dramatically, and because we've had state UI systems that have been overwhelmed, those initial claims often don't reflect things that happened in the past week. They reflect people trying yet again and finally being recognized as a claimant, and they reflect the performance of people who are self-employed or independent contractors, and we don't have any historical benchmarks for how they play out during a business cycle recovery. So I'm taking they're high. There's no way around it. They reflect the fact that half of the people who lost their jobs earlier this year aren't back at work, and we know that. But in terms of progress, seeing those continuing claims go down, which means we're creating jobs, which is essential, is a good thing. And so it keeps me on the sort of basic trajectory I thought we'd be on, a quick bump back, which we saw, and then a steady climb out. And I didn't expect to be back at full employment in 2020, and I think those who did were probably really kidding themselves about sort of the capacity of the economy to get back fast, and the realistic progression in addressing the coronavirus, which was always going to have regional spikes and a resurgence in the fall. And we're seeing that. And so that's the world we're in.
Well, the continuing claims, as you say, are coming down a little faster than was expected. They're still up over 10 million at this point. Yeah. Are we going to get back to that without the vaccine? And what are the prospects, not only of getting a vaccine, but of actually getting people to take it?
I think we need the vaccine. I think there's no question about that. The alternatives, the substitutes for vaccines, are an enormous advance in daily rapid testing, testing not for the stage of your COVID-19 case, but for whether you're infectious or not. And those tests would allow us each to get up every day and lick a strip, and if it turns blue, stay home. If it turns red, go to work, whatever. That's a way to deal with that. Or allow COVID-19 to be a less threatening disease by having a set of therapeutics that can address it quickly. So, but I don't think we're going to get that relatively quickly. That doesn't look like it. So but we are going to get vaccines. The administration's Operation Warp Speed is a genuine success from a scientific perspective. I think we'll probably have, by the middle of 2021, 3 or so widely available vaccines for COVID-19. They may work better or worse for different populations, ages, things like that, but they will have been developed in a record time, subjected to the same and higher levels of scrutiny than previous vaccines, and will provide some protection to the population. Right. Then comes and I want to say that I really have a great deal of faith in that. I know there's been a lot of public discussion about the FDA and political pressure on the FDA, and I think the administration has far from bathed itself in glory in trying to politicize the vaccine development. But the vaccine development itself is a terrific scientific accomplishment. But convincing people of that is the key.
Right.
And so, a recent Gallup poll showed that we used to have 2/3 of Americans who thought they would be ready to take a vaccine, and now it's down to a half. And if people don't take a vaccine, development doesn't mean anything.
Doug, I don't want to let you go without talking about stimulus. It sounds a little bit like the vaccine. Doesn't look like we're going to get it soon, but most people think we're going to get it sooner or later. We will get it. Is that good enough?
I think it's not good enough. In the end, this crisis started, economic part of this crisis started when high-income individuals stopped consuming services that involve personal contact. And there's nothing about sending checks to low-income households or bumping up UI or giving states money that fixes that problem. The only thing that fixes that problem is fixing the virus.
Okay, thank you so much, Doug. Always a treat to have you on. That's Douglas Holtz-Eakin, American Action.